It was a cold, rainy evening when David, a poor single dad struggling to make ends meet, finished his long day at the factory. Exhausted and soaked to the bone, he still had to pick up his two young children from school and prepare dinner. David's life was a daily battle, working double shifts, barely earning enough, and trying to be the best father he could be after his wife had passed away 2 years ago. His small apartment was modest but filled with love, and his children were the light of his life. As he drove slowly through the empty streets, his old truck sputtered and finally broke down near a quiet part of town. David sighed heavily, the stress piling up like the storm clouds above him. He stepped out, checking the engine with no luck, realizing he was completely stranded. With no phone signal and no one around for miles, David sat on the curb feeling hopeless. He thought about how everything in his life seemed to be falling apart. Suddenly a car pulled over nearby. A woman stepped out with an umbrella and hurried toward him. She was elegantly dressed, calm and confident despite the rain. Her name was Victoria. She saw David struggle and didn't hesitate to offer help. Without asking questions, she called a tow truck and insisted David get into her car to wait out the storm. David was reluctant at first, suspicious of a stranger's kindness, but desperate he accepted. Inside her warm car, David couldn't help but notice how different their world seemed. Victoria was a successful, powerful woman, carrying herself with grace. Yet she spoke softly and listened, patiently as David shared snippets of his life, his job, his children, and his challenges. There was no judgment, only kindness. Victoria admired his strength and dedication, while David was touched by her genuine concern. As they waited for the tow truck, Victoria told David about her work as a judge. She explained how she often had to make tough decisions that affected people's lives, sometimes determining the fate of families just like his. David was amazed but also uneasy, realizing the woman who had just helped him might hold power over his future in ways he couldn't imagine. When the tow truck arrived, Victoria insisted on driving David home. Along the way, she shared some wise words about resilience and hope, encouraging him to keep fighting for his children. David felt a spark of renewed strength inside him. That night, after putting his kids to bed, David thought deeply about the encounter. He didn't know it then, but his fate was quietly intertwined with the woman he had helped. Little did he realize, this chance meeting would soon become the turning point in his life. Days later, David received a court summons. Heart pounding, he arrived at the courthouse, where he discovered that his case was being heard by Judge Victoria, the very woman who had rescued him in the rain. The case involved a dispute that threatened to take his children away from him due to financial struggles and misunderstandings. The judge's role was critical in deciding whether he would keep custody or lose the little family he had left. As the courtroom filled with tension, David felt overwhelmed but also strangely calm. He remembered Victoria's kindness and the words of encouragement she had shared during that rainy night. When the moment came, Victoria listened carefully to David's story, his struggles and his unwavering love for his children. She asked thoughtful questions, probing beyond the surface to understand the true man behind the case file. Behind her stern exterior, Victoria had been deeply moved by David's courage and devotion. She knew the system could be harsh, but she also believed in giving people a second chance. After hours of deliberation, she ruled in David's favor, allowing him to retain custody of his children and offering resources to support their family. David's relief was overwhelming. He thanked Victoria not only for her judgment but for the humanity she showed. The judge, in turn, expressed hope for his future, urging him to keep fighting and reminding him that kindness could change lives in the most unexpected ways. This story spread throughout the community, inspiring many to believe in the power of compassion and the impact one small act of kindness can have. David's life began to improve. He found better work opportunities, and with Victoria's guidance, he connected to programs that helped him rebuild stability. As the seasons changed, David never forgot the night he was stranded in the rain, the stranger who stopped to help, and the judge who held his fate. His gratitude grew into a lifelong commitment to pay kindness forward, teaching his children the same values that saved their family. If you found David and Victoria's story inspiring, please subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories about hope, resilience, and the power of kindness. Remember, sometimes the smallest gesture can change someone's life forever. Don't forget to like, share, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos. Together, let's spread love and positivity. Life after the courtroom ruling was not instantly easy for David, but it was filled with hope and a sense of new beginnings. With the judge's decision in his favor, David felt a renewed strength to face the challenges ahead. The worry about losing his children that had haunted him for months started to fade, replaced by determination to build a better future for his little family. Victoria, too, found herself reflecting on their encounter more deeply than she had expected. Behind the robe and courtroom, sternness was a woman who believed justice was about more than laws. It was about humanity. She admired David's relentless love for his children and the sacrifices he made daily. She quietly began to follow his progress, arranging for social services to support him discreetly, believing that sometimes judges could help beyond the bench. One afternoon, David received an unexpected letter. It was from Victoria herself, inviting him to a community event focused on supporting struggling families. The letter encouraged him to come and meet others who faced similar hardships, promising a safe space for encouragement and resources. David hesitated at first, but the genuine warmth in the letter gave him courage. He brought his children and attended, discovering a community of kindness and support he had never known. At the event, David met families who had faced hardships just like his, sharing stories of resilience and hope. He found resources for better job training and childcare, and most importantly, friends who understood his journey. Victoria greeted him warmly, not as a judge in a courtroom, but as a compassionate ally. They talked openly about challenges and dreams, and for the first time in years, David felt seen and supported. Over the months, David's life transformed. He secured a better job, his children thrived in school, and their home became a place of laughter and hope rather than struggle and fear. Victoria continued to mentor him from afar, reminding him that no matter how hard life gets, kindness and determination can light the darkest paths. But the story didn't end there. David, inspired by Victoria's compassion, began volunteering to help other struggling parents in his community. He shared his story openly, becoming a beacon of hope for others trapped in hardship. The man who once felt powerless became a leader, proof that even the smallest acts of kindness, like stopping to help a stranger in the rain, can create ripples that change countless lives. As the seasons turned again, David stood in a crowded hall at a local award ceremony, accepting recognition for his community work. In the audience sat Victoria, smiling proudly. Their paths had crossed by chance, but their lives had been forever intertwined by empathy, courage, and kindness. To all our viewers, remember, every act of kindness matters. You never know whose life you might change. If David's story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel, share this video, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that inspires and uplifts. Together we can make the world a better place, one kind act at a time. David sat quietly at the kitchen table, watching his children play with simple toys on the worn carpet. The light from the small lamp cast soft shadows, and for the first time in months, he felt a calm he hadn't known in years. Life was still far from perfect, bills piled up, and his job was demanding, but hope no longer felt like a stranger in his home. The memory of Victoria's kindness was always with him. She had become more than just the judge who ruled on his case. She was a symbol of compassion and strength. After their meeting at the community event, they kept in touch, mostly through letters and occasional phone calls. Victoria never crossed the boundary of her role, but her support was unmistakable. One evening, as David tucked his youngest into bed, his phone buzzed with a message from Victoria. She invited him to participate in a panel discussion at the courthouse about improving support for single parents. David hesitated. Speaking in public was daunting, but this was an opportunity to share his story, to be a voice for those who often felt invisible. He agreed. On the day of the panel, David stood nervously behind the microphone in a packed room filled with judges, social workers, and families. As he spoke about his struggles, the loneliness of raising 2 children alone, the fear of losing them, and the unexpected kindness of a stranger, who turned out to be the judge, who saved him, the room fell silent. His words weren't just facts, they were raw and real, filled with pain and hope. Victoria watched from the front row, pride shining in her eyes. She had seen many cases like David's, but few had the courage to speak so openly. His story was powerful because it reminded everyone that behind every case file was a human, life complex, fragile, yet incredibly resilient. After the discussion, several people approached David, thanking him for sharing and offering resources. One social worker gave him a list of programs for job training and childcare, while a counselor offered support for his children. For the first time, David felt truly connected to a community that cared. Weeks passed, and David's life continued to improve in small but meaningful ways. His children's laughter grew louder and their future seemed brighter. He took on new responsibilities at work and even began helping other struggling families by volunteering at the community center. It was his way of paying forward the kindness he had received. Victoria and David's paths crossed again, not in the courtroom, but at a local fundraiser for families in need. This time they talked as equals, two people bound by respect and a shared belief in the power of kindness. Victoria confessed that meeting David had changed her, reminding her why she became a judge, not just to enforce the law, but to protect and uplift lives. David smiled, grateful for a friendship that had grown from a chance encounter on a rainy night. Together, they dreamed of a future where no one would have to face hardship alone, where compassion guided every decision, and where hope could be found even in the darkest times. To our viewers, David's journey is proof that kindness and courage can change lives. If his story inspired you, please subscribe to our channel, share this video with your friends, and hit the bell icon to stay connected with more stories of hope and resilience. Remember, sometimes the smallest act of kindness can set off a ripple that changes the world.